The immigration officer read her address out loud. Only her best friend knew it. She stood in the doorway of her apartment at 7 in the morning, still in her pajamas, her coffee mug halfway to her lips. The IC officer, tall, expressionless, badge gleaming under the hallway fluorescent light, held a printed document in his hand. His voice was flat, mechanical, as if he were reading a grocery list. But every word felt like a knife. Anonymous tip received June 28th. Subject resides at 2847 Maple Street, Apartment 3B, Atlanta, Georgia. Works Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. at a tech startup on Peachtree Street. Drives a silver Honda Civic, license plate ending in 472. She felt her chest tighten. Her hands went cold. She set the mug down on the small table by the door because she was afraid she would drop it. The officer continued, listing details about her life, her schedule, her car, the fact that she had recently been promoted. Things that weren't public. Things she hadn't posted online. Things only someone close to her would know. "Do you know who might have filed this report?" he asked, finally looking up from the paper. She opened her mouth, but no sound came out. Her mind was racing, flipping through faces, conversations, moments. Who had she told about the promotion? Who knew her new address? She had only moved 2 months ago. Who had access to all of this? And then it hit her. A cold, sick realization that started in her stomach and spread through her entire body. Only one person had all of it. Only one person knew her new apartment number, her exact work schedule, the license plate on her car. Only one person had been there for every detail of her life over the past 6 years. Her best friend. She had lived in the United States for 8 years. She had come on a student visa, worked through a master's degree in computer science, landed a job at a growing startup, and climbed her way up from junior analyst to senior product manager. It hadn't been easy. She had worked weekends, taken on extra projects, learned to navigate a system that wasn't designed for someone like her. She had built everything from scratch, her career, her apartment, her life. And now someone wanted to destroy it all with a single phone call. But who? And why now, just 3 weeks after her promotion? She thought back to the last time she had seen her friend. It was June 18th, a Friday night. They had gone to the Cheesecake Factory, their favorite spot, to celebrate. She had told her about the promotion, senior product manager, a $25,000 raise, more responsibility, a real future. Her friend had smiled, raised her glass, said all the right things. But there had been something in her eyes, something sharp and cold that she hadn't wanted to see. "Must be nice," her friend had said, her voice light, almost playful. "Must be nice to get everything you want." She had laughed it off, thought it was just a joke. But now, standing in her doorway with an IC officer staring at her, that comment felt different. It felt like a warning she had missed. Her friend had always been supportive. She was a U.S. citizen, born and raised in Atlanta. She had helped her navigate everything when she first arrived: how to open a bank account, where to buy furniture, what neighborhoods were safe. She had been there when her visa was delayed, when her first boss was a nightmare, when she thought about giving up and going home. She had called her family. She had called her safe. But the truth, she was learning, was that she had never been safe at all. The IC officer handed her a copy of the anonymous report. She took it with shaking hands, scanned the text. Every detail was correct. Every single one. Her new address. She had only told her family and her friend. The startup on Peachtree Street. She had mentioned it in a private conversation at a Starbucks on 14th Street on May 29th. Her friend had been sitting across from her, sipping an iced latte, nodding along. She closed her eyes. She didn't want to believe it, but the evidence was undeniable. Her best friend, the woman she had trusted with everything, had tried to destroy her. But she needed proof, real proof, and she knew exactly where to start. She pulled out her phone and opened her text messages. She scrolled back through months of conversations, looking for anything, any hint, any crack in the facade. And then she found it. June 22nd, 11:34 p.m. A message from her friend. She had sent it late at night, probably after a few drinks. It was short, bitter, raw. "You don't deserve this life more than I do." She stared at the words. She had seen the message when it came in, but she had been too tired to respond. She had assumed it was just frustration, maybe a bad day at work. Her friend had always struggled professionally, bouncing between jobs, never quite finding her place. She had felt bad for her. She had tried to help, offered to refer her to openings at her company. Her friend had always said no. Now she understood why. It wasn't about help. It was about envy. She took a screenshot of the message and saved it. Then she kept scrolling. There were other moments, smaller ones. Comments that seemed harmless at the time but now felt like poison. "You're so lucky. I wish I had your life." Some people just get everything handed to them. She had never responded to those messages with anything but reassurance. "You'll find something. You're amazing. It'll happen for you." She had believed in her friend. She had wanted her to succeed, but her friend hadn't wanted success. She had wanted revenge. She called her colleague Rachel, a woman she worked with who had met her friend once at a company happy hour. Rachel picked up on the third ring. "Hey, weird question," she said, trying to keep her voice steady. "Do you remember that happy hour on June 15th? My friend came. Did she say anything strange?" Rachel paused. "Actually, yeah. She was at the bar, and I overheard her talking to someone. She said something like, 'She's not even legal. Why does she get everything?' I didn't think much of it at the time, but it was kind of harsh." Her stomach dropped. "Thanks," she said quietly and hung up. She wasn't just suspicious anymore. She was certain. But suspicion wasn't enough. She needed something concrete, something that couldn't be denied. She hired an immigration lawyer. His name was Marcus, a sharp, no-nonsense attorney who specialized in cases like hers. She showed him the IC report, the text messages, everything. He listened without interrupting, his face unreadable. "We can request the phone records," he said finally. "ICE tip lines are logged. If we file a Freedom of Information Act request, we can find out where the call came from." "How long will that take?" 3 weeks. Maybe 4. She nodded. It felt like forever. But she had no other choice. 3 weeks later, Marcus called. His voice was calm, but she could hear the edge of something underneath. Satisfaction, maybe. Or anger. "I have the records," he said. The call to IC was made on June 28th at 2:17 p.m. It came from a phone number registered in Georgia. Area code 404. Number ending in 0192. Her hands went numb. She knew that number. She had it saved in her phone. She had called it 1,000 times. "It's her," she whispered. "Yeah," Marcus said. "It's her." She stared at the document he sent over, an official log from the IC tip line. "Call placed from 404-555-0192 to IC anonymous reporting line. Duration, 11 minutes, 34 seconds. Date, June 28th. Time, 2:17 p.m. She had spent the past 3 weeks hoping she was wrong. Part of her had wanted to believe that it was a mistake, a misunderstanding, anything but the truth. But the evidence was clear. Her best friend had called IC. Her best friend had tried to get her deported. She picked up her phone. Her thumb hovered over the contact name. Then she pressed call. It rang twice. Then her friend answered, her voice bright, casual. "Hey, what's up?" "I know what you did," she said. Her voice was ice. There was a pause, a long one. Then her friend laughed, but it sounded hollow. "What are you talking about?" "The IC report. I know you called them. You're being ridiculous. I would never do that to you." "Then explain why your phone number shows up on the IC call log." June 28th, 2:17 p.m. Silence. 8 seconds of it. She counted. Then the line went dead. She stood there, staring at her phone, her heart pounding. The silence meant guilt. The hanging up meant fear. But it also meant her friend wouldn't admit it. Not yet. Not without more pressure. So she decided to turn the screws. And she knew exactly how. Over the next few days, she kept digging. She went back through the IC report line by line, cross-referencing every detail. And that's when she found something strange. The report mentioned a document she had never seen before, a copy of her old lease from 2021, an apartment she had lived in 2 years ago. She had thrown that lease away. She hadn't kept a copy. The only person who might still have it was her ex-boyfriend. They had lived together briefly, and he had handled the paperwork when they moved out. She called him. They hadn't spoken in over a year, and the conversation was awkward. But she asked him directly, "Did anyone ask you for a copy of our old lease? From the place on Juniper Street?" He hesitated. "Actually, yeah. Your friend texted me a few weeks ago. She said she needed it for something. I didn't think it was a big deal, so I sent her a photo. Her blood went cold. When? Let me check. June 25th. 3 days before the IC call. She thanked him and hung up. Her hands were shaking. It wasn't just her friend. It was her friend and her ex. 2 people she had trusted. 2 people who had teamed up to destroy her. She contacted Marcus again. He filed a subpoena request for her friend's phone records, specifically messages between her and the ex-boyfriend. It took another 2 weeks, but when the records came back, they confirmed everything. June 25th, 10:47 a.m. Message from her friend to her ex. Can you send me her old lease? I need it for something. Her ex. Why? Her friend. Just trust me. She deserves this. She stared at the printout for a long time. The words blurred. She wasn't just angry anymore. She was something deeper, colder. She felt like she was standing on the edge of a cliff, looking down at the wreckage of everything she had believed in. It wasn't just her best friend. It was her ex-boyfriend, too. The 2 people she had trusted most in her life had teamed up to destroy her. But she wasn't going to let them get away with it. She had the proof. Now she needed justice. Marcus advised her to record a confession. Georgia was a one-party consent state, which meant she could legally record a conversation without the other person knowing. So she texted her friend, keeping her tone neutral, almost friendly. Can we talk? I think we need to clear the air. Her friend agreed. They met at a Panera Bread on Lenox Road on July 18th at 3 p.m. She arrived early, ordered a coffee, sat in a booth by the window. She turned on the voice recorder on her phone and slipped it into her jacket pocket. Her friend walked in 10 minutes later, smiling, acting like nothing had happened. They made small talk for a few minutes. Work, the weather, nothing important. Then she leaned forward, her voice quiet but firm. I know you called IC. I have the phone records. I know about the lease. I know you got my ex involved. Her friend's face changed. The smile disappeared. Her eyes darted to the side, then back. I don't know what you're talking about. Yes, you do. There was a long silence. Then her friend's shoulders sagged. She looked down at her hands, her voice barely above a whisper. I was angry, she said. You got everything I wanted. The job, the visa sponsorship, the life I should have had. I worked just as hard as you. But you're the one who got promoted. You're the one everyone loves. And I'm still stuck. She felt a cold fury settle over her. So you tried to get me deported. Her friend didn't deny it. She just sat there, staring at the table. You could have destroyed my life, she said, her voice shaking. You could have taken everything from me. And for what? Because you were jealous. Her friend looked up, and for a moment, there was something raw in her eyes. Regret, maybe. Or just exhaustion. I'm sorry, she said, but it didn't sound like she meant it. She stood up, leaving her coffee untouched. You're going to be. She took the recording to Marcus. Marcus took it to the authorities. And 2 weeks later, her friend was charged with making a false report to a federal agency, a crime that carried up to 5 years in prison. On August 5th, she received a letter from IC. It was short, formal, and final. Case closed. Investigation complete. No evidence of immigration violations found. She stared at the words until they blurred. It was over. She was safe. Her friend was facing federal charges. The truth was out, but it didn't feel like victory. It felt like grief. Grief for a friendship that had never been real. Grief for the years she had wasted trusting someone who had only ever seen her as competition. Still, she had survived. And she had learned something no one could take away. 6 months later, she was living in Austin, Texas. She had taken a new job as lead product manager at a fintech startup, a role that paid even more than her last one. She had made new friends, real ones, who celebrated her successes without bitterness. She had blocked her old friend's number, deleted every photo, erased every trace. She thought about her sometimes, wondered if she regretted it, wondered if she understood what she had lost. But mostly, she didn't think about her at all. She had spent 8 years building a life in a country that wasn't hers by birth. She had faced rejection, exhaustion, fear, and she had survived all of it. But the hardest lesson hadn't come from the system. It had come from the person she had trusted most. Betrayal, she learned, wasn't always loud. Sometimes it was just a phone call, made by someone who smiled to your face and destroyed you behind your back. But she had fought back, and she had won, not because she was stronger, or smarter, or luckier, but because she had refused to stay silent, because she had gathered the proof, built the case, and held the people who hurt her accountable. Her story isn't unique. Betrayal happens. Envy happens. People you trust will sometimes choose to hurt you instead of celebrating you. But justice happens too, when you refuse to be the victim. When you stop waiting for someone else to save you and start saving yourself. If you've ever been betrayed by someone you trusted, you know how hard it is to fight back. But sometimes, the only way to survive is to stop being the one who gets hurt and start being the one who holds people accountable. Not for revenge, but for truth, for closure, for the life you deserve to keep building, even after someone tried to tear it down. She had lost a friend, but she had gained something more valuable, the knowledge that she could fight back and win.